Hey guys, welcome back to Auto Amateur. I'm James, and in this video we're going to be doing the brakes on my Cayenne S. Let's go check it out. Yeah, I know, it's not a 911 video, I get it, but I promise you, this is helpful for anybody that owns a Porsche. The brake change job that we're going to be doing here on this 958.1 Cayenne is basically the exact same thing for the 991.1 and the 991.2. It's the same thing for the Macan and the Panamera of this sort of era, so really anything over 2010 and later, because they changed the calipers up a little bit. You look at the calipers for the 996 and the 997, for example, the work there is slightly different with the hardware that you got to remove. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. But this is a video basically for anybody that wants to change the brakes on their car and is sick of spending $1,500 or more at the dealership. Because for a couple of $100, you get the brake pads that you need, another 20 bucks for the hardware, and you can do this job in a couple of hours at home. It is simple, I promise. So we're going to take a look at the tools we're going to use, and then we're going to do the job, and that's it. Easy. All right, let's take a quick look at the tools for the job. You're definitely going to want something to cover your hands. This is a really dirty job. So I've got myself my latex gloves there, and I've also got these absolutely fantastic Turbo towels, cleaning wipes. They just cut through anything. Really, really awesome. And then you're going to want a rag. And then here are the tools themselves. I've got myself a socket to get the lug nuts out of the wheel. I've got an adapter here to help me with the sockets and my wrench. You're going to need a triple spline 14 millimeter socket to get the caliper bolts out. Got a breaker bar there. I've got my trusty ratchet and a hand ratchet. You're going to use this rubber, God, what are they called? Spring bouncy rubber thing. That's going to help you stop the caliper from falling. Handy pair of pliers to help pull out the brake wear sensors. A handy flathead screwdriver to help you pop out wires and the top of the bleeder nipple here where the wire goes through for the brake pad sensor. And then you're going to want a torque wrench. The caliper bolts, I think, are 70 foot-pounds. I'll double check that. But that should be everything you need. There'll be a lot of sweat. There'll be a lot of dirt. Maybe a few swear words here and there. But it's a really fun job and definitely one that you can do yourself. right, so I'm halfway through the job. Let's just do a quick check-in and a breakdown of what's been done so far. So this is the front passenger brake caliper. This is a 6-piston caliper. So it's got 1, 2, 3 pistons here and another 3 on the other side. These retaining clips help keep the brake pads in place, and you don't remove these like you might have done if you've ever done a 996 or a 997. They keep the pads in place. And then you've got 2 caliper bolts here. They do recommend that you change hardware like this on every job, and that's because this can happen. You can see here that my 14 millimeter triple spline here, I think it is 14, yeah, triple spline. Maybe I didn't get it in quite far enough, maybe it was dirty, but you can see there's a little bit of damage there on the thread. So I will be replacing these before the job is finished, but just for now, just to keep the caliper on, it's staying the way it is. To get started, of course, you got to take out the caliper pins. You've also got to disconnect the brake pad wear sensor, and that's what this is. They also recommend that you replace these with every brake change. Now look at this one. It's taken quite a bit of wear and tear, and the metal clip which sits around the inner lip here. This is actually broken on the driver's side, and it's a similar story here on the passenger side. And so trying to put these back in now, the retaining clip is gone, and so the connection isn't there for one, but also it's not staying in place. So this is going to be replaced. Now this actually connects up to this wiring harness here. It's a simple 1 pop and pull out, and it pops straight back in. One thing to bear in mind when you're working on, after taking off the caliper to remove the old brake pads, is that this is heavy, and you've got a brake line here that contains all of that nasty, toxic brake fluid, which makes a hell of a mess, and you don't want to break any part of the caliper. And let's just see here if I can angle the camera and get the light here, but essentially the brake fluid is being fed into the caliper here, and then you take out the fluid using these 2 bleeders here, and a brake fluid flush is for another day. What's really useful is a bungee cord like this. So you may have seen at the beginning of the job, I connected that up there to the frame, and I also connected this around one of the clips. So invariably, if you do slip, if you do let the caliper drop, you're not going to break your brake line. Now, the first part of the brake line here is metal. It actually connects up to a softer tube a little further up. You can see here, it actually connects into the suspension here using this little rubber clip. There's a clip behind here somewhere. I have to find it. Yeah, it's sort of right here. Essentially, you just jam this into place and it keeps the brake line all secure. So I've got to put that back before I finish the job. But that's essentially it. One other thing to keep in mind is that the pistons are being pushed in by the brake fluid and the hydraulic system. You really need to bring those pistons all the way back. So you may have seen earlier in the video on both sides, I was giving these piston by piston a really good squeeze. It is quite difficult. You can buy caliper spreaders, which essentially fit in between the 2 sides of the pistons, and then you crack you ratchet it up, and it spreads and spreads and spreads, and it basically pushes all of the brake fluid out of the caliper. I did this side, then I did the other side, and then I went back to the sides again to make sure that they were all in. Sometimes you push the pistons in and they kind of slowly come back out. Sometimes you might push this one in and this one gets pushed out, or this one gets pushed out. So it's worth going over both sides a couple of times just to make sure you get those pistons back all the way. And then once you put the brake pads in, everything fits back onto the disc here, onto the rotor, quite quickly. I know a lot of people get frustrated where they put the pads in and they try and get on the rotor and you can't for the life of you get it on, and that's because the pistons are squished in and you don't really have that kind of wiggle room. But that's essentially it. I might give the caliper here a little bit of a clean. At some point I'm going to get these powder coated red, but again, that's a job for another day. Simple brake pad change, and we're away. checking in for another video. Lots of exciting things to come. So we're getting out of the summer driving season and we're into fall or autumn here in the Twin Cities. And so I've got a whole bunch of projects bubbling up for both of these cars. On the Cayenne, let's tackle those first. I'm going to be powder coating the brakes red. I'm going to be changing out the center tack in my instrument cluster. So instead of having the awful gray color they put in for the S models, I'm going to have a red tack face to match the red Sports Chrono. And then for my 991, oh baby. So I'm through all my exhaust mods. I'm thinking about doing a full GT3 conversion to the suspension. I'm talking about everything I possibly can on the suspension to make it GT3 or GT3 equivalent, a combination of aftermarket parts and factory GT3 parts. That's going to be a fun project. And of course, while the car is up on the lift and the wheels are off, I'm going to be taking off the brake calipers. If you follow my channel, you know that I've painted those yellow. I'm actually going to take those to Jacobson's in Burnsville and get them powder coated. I'm thinking about swapping out the steering wheel. I'm thinking about maybe doing seat belts in matching yellow to go with the other yellow accents I've got. It's a very exciting couple of months ahead, so stay tuned. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Continue to push those buttons and sharing the love with any of your friends that are interested in Porsches. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video soon. Thanks, bye.